Oh, I know that sound. It's time for the Beer and News Report. Hi, and welcome to the Beer News Report. Cheers. As you know, I try to read at least 30 books every year. I've read 21 so far, so I'm a little behind, but I'm confident that I'll get 30 books done this year. And this show is going to highlight a few of my favorites, especially the book Homo Deus. It's a brief history of tomorrow by Yuval Noah Harari. This book is hard to put down. I've read it and I might even read it twice this year. But hands down, it is the best book I've read so far this year. So put your book down, grab a beer, get ready to take some notes because I got some good books I think you should check out. Cheers. First, you're probably already aware that I like nonfiction. So if you're only into fiction, this isn't the show for you. All right? The first book you should check out is called American Gun, The True Story of the AR-15 by Cameron McWhirter and Zusha Elinson. This book explores the history, development, and cultural significance of the AR-15, one of the most controversial firearms in the United States. The book traces the weapon's origins back to its creator, Eugene Stoner, who designed it for military use in the late 1950s. Originally intended for soldiers, they called it the M15, the AR-15 evolved into a civilian firearm, gaining popularity among gun enthusiasts and sparking fierce debates over gun rights, violence, and public safety. But here's something you probably didn't know. Do you remember when Obama was president and the Republicans warned everyone that he's going to take your guns? In reality, more guns were sold when Obama was president than at any other time. The funny thing is, when Trump became president, nobody worried about the government coming to take your guns, so gun sales actually dropped. And there were gun companies that went bankrupt because Trump was president for 4 years, and when you can't sell a gun for 4 years, you pretty much go out of business. So in actuality, President Trump did more damage to gun companies, which reduced access to guns to the public, than President Obama. I mean, who knew? Cheers. Okay, the next book is A Murder in Hollywood, The Untold Story of Tinseltown's Most Shocking Crime by Casey Sherman. This book delves into the infamous 1958 killing involving Hollywood actress Lana Turner. However, the book focuses not on Turner committing the murder, but on her teenage daughter, Cheryl Crane, who fatally stabbed Turner's abusive boyfriend, mobster Johnny Stoppanato. Or did she? Here's a person that makes it to the top of the movie business by mainly her good looks, but she consistently makes bad decisions. Just as she's getting out of one bad decision, she makes another that's even worse, and it gets so bad that murder happens. I'm not going to tell you the ending, but I gotta say, when I was reading the book, the last 4 chapters, I read them in one night because I couldn't put it down. If you like nonfiction biographical thrillers, then this book is for you. Yeah, cheers. Those 2 books rank very high in my opinion, but there's a couple others that I'd like to, I think they were pretty good. One of them is a book called You Can't Lie to Me by Janine Driver. She explains how to read people's faces and body language to see if they're lying to you. And this book is pretty thorough, but the problem is to get good at reading people, you gotta do it all the time. And I don't have that much energy or interest in figuring out if people are lying to me. Another good book is Factory Girls, From Village to City in the Changing China. This is by Leslie T. Chang. This book offers a vivid account of the lives of young women who leave their rural villages to work in China's booming factory cities. Chang explores not only their personal journeys, but also the broader social and economic forces that drive millions of Chinese migrants into cities. These women, often in their late teens or early 20s, face long hours, harsh conditions, and the pressure to send money home. Yet Chang emphasizes their resilience, ambition, and desire for self-improvement, changing stereotypes of factory workers as passive victims. And finally, The Six, The Untold Story of America's First Women Astronauts by Laura Grush. This book tells an inspiring story of the first women selected by NASA to become astronauts in 1978. This historic group, made up of Sally Ride, Judy Resnick, Anna Fisher, Kathy Sullivan, Rhea Shedden, and Shannon Lucid. These women broke barriers in the male-dominated field, overcoming sexism, intense public scrutiny, and personal challenges to pave the way for future generations. Grush captures each woman's unique background and path to NASA, highlighting their scientific achievements, resilience, and the camaraderie that develops between them. The book not only details their individual journeys, but also delves into the larger cultural and political context of the time, showing how the women astronauts class symbolizes the broader shift in American society toward gender equality and opportunity. So these are the top books that I've read this year. I think that you should check them out, especially the top two that I mentioned in the beginning, but these other ones are just as good. Cheers. Now on to the number one book that I've read this year called Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow by Yuval Noah Harari. This book is awesome. It explores the future of humanity in the context of technological advancements, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology. Building on these ideas in his previous book called Sapiens, Harari argues that humanity has largely conquered famine, plague, and war, and now we're turning our focus to achieving immortality, divine-like powers, becoming Homo Deus, or godlike humans. Harari speculates on the future where human enhancement through genetic engineering and artificial intelligence may redefine what it means to be human. And he warns that the potential dangers of these developments, such as the rise of a super elite with enhanced abilities, creating vast inequalities between upgraded humans and the rest of us, he explores something called dataism. And that's the belief that power is in data and algorithms and may eventually surpass humanism as the dominant ideology, which is happening right now. These decisions could be driven more by machine intelligence than by human free will. Now, I had ChatGPT write up that summary that I just read to you, and it might sound a little too technical, but Yuval Noah Harari writes in a way that's very understandable and throws in some fun anecdotes. Now, I mean, for instance, think about if you had this ability, right? Through technology, you become semi-immortal, meaning that you'll stay alive forever as long as you don't do something that kills yourself or commit suicide, right? So you want to avoid cars because you can get into a car accident. Just think about how this would change your lifestyle. You'd have to give up bungee jumping or hang gliding. You wouldn't want to play contact sports because what if you get paralyzed? You're paralyzed for immortality. So think about how your total lifestyle changes, how you're going to have other people do things for you because you don't want to take the chance of getting injured or, dying's the worst part, but getting injured and losing a limb or something for immortality, that's terrible, right? It makes you think, doesn't it? Cheers. Finally, I want to explain what ChatGPT said on dataism, which is the belief that the incoming power of data and algorithms. Now, that sounds weird, right? We're going to change our belief system and make it so that we believe only in data and algorithms. Well, in the book, he talks about experiments done on rats where they put probes and chips inside their brain, and they use these to make decisions for the rats. And then they did a similar experiment on humans, and they told humans that, hey, you're going to feel like you're making decisions of your own free will, but in reality, we're going to make the decisions for you, but we want you to tell us how that makes you feel, right? And they do this by removing background noise. In other words, when you're doing something, you have thoughts in your head that kind of interfere with what you're doing, daydreaming or whatever. Through these probes and chips, they can get rid of that. And what they found out is these people loved it, right? And it was mainly done on military soldiers, so they're doing something with guns. And what they found out is their marks went way up. They did fantastic in their things, and they wanted that type of, they didn't want to leave it. They wanted to stay in that zone. It's like your focus, right? You ever hear about that? A professional player will say, hey, I won the Super Bowl because I was in a zone. Well, they can put chips where they make you into the zone. So what this book is saying that in the future, you can program out daydreaming, procrastination, or laziness. And who wouldn't want to do that, right? I mean, half the time I'd rather watch TV than do these shows. But think about how productive you would be. This would clearly put you ahead of any peer that you're working with who did not get their brain reprogrammed. You would be like the super worker. I'm telling you, this book is a trip. You got to read it. Cheers. Well, my beer is almost empty, and that means we're at the end of the show. If you want to contact me, you can reach at this email address. I hope you had a good time watching the show, and if you did, please click that like button. Today, I'm drinking Cinnamon Bun Ale. Look at this can. It's a crack up. And this is made by Boulevard Brewing Company. I mean, look how dark this beer is. And normally, I don't like dark beers. But this one tastes like a cinnamon bun. It is so sweet. At first, I didn't like it, but as I sipped on it and kept drinking it, it kind of hooked me in. So obviously, you need a sweet tooth to drink this beer. But if you have that, I recommend you check it out. It's pretty good once you get over the sweetness. Now, if you want to get notified of new shows, click that subscribe button and the little bell icon next one. This will notify you when a new show's been posted. Till then, keep your beer cold and your interest hot. Cheers.